So without further ado, let's welcome up Pastor Brent Purvis today.
All right, glad to be with you, Hunt. Hey, I'm going to use a visual example, if you don't mind. We'll start us off today. It's always an honor to be with you, of course. I love being here and growing with you together on this leadership journey. And I thought I'd start off today with a visual example. So those people listen by way of audio, I've got a golf club, a driver in my hand, and I thought this would work real well with the lesson I'm talking about today. I once took a golf class in college, my first semester. I was looking for something easy to take, and I was looking for a good grade, something easy, and to be honest, something that would give me more time to fish. And so this is a golf class in February, as you can imagine, in Georgia, February, 8 a.m. in the morning, it's freezing. And so I show up to this golf class looking for an easy grade. The first time I show up, no one's there. The second time that I show up, again, I go out there to the driving range and hit a few balls, no one's there again. Third time I show up, no one's there. No instructor, no other student, nothing. And so by this time, I'm thinking maybe I got the wrong place. Maybe I got the wrong golf course. Maybe I need a call. So I called the instructor and said, listen, I signed up for your golf class, and I've showed up 3 days in a row, and no one's there. And he said, Brent, I need to tell you something. Listen, here's kind of my cardinal rule. If it's 65 degrees or under, don't worry about showing up because I'm not showing up. And I thought, okay, February, 8 a.m., it's going to be a problem. Rarely does it get any higher than 65 degrees. And so I kept showing up and trying the golf thing, and I'm not a great golfer. I would hit some really pretty, and then the next stroke I'd hit one all the way to the left, and the next stroke I'd hit some trees, killed a few squirrels in the process. It was bad. I said for a lot and duck and watch out. But one day the instructor showed up, and it was worth the whole class. He showed up, and I'm hitting balls there on the golf deal, the driving range, and he watches me, and he says, Brent, you have no control over where the ball's going. I said, well, it wouldn't take a genius to figure that out. And I've got some going left, right, everywhere. And he said this to me, and I thought, this is very good, and it definitely rolls over into leadership. He said, Brent, if you are inconsistent here at the tee, you're going to be uncontrollable out there. You cannot control where that ball is going to land. You've got to be more consistent right here. And he showed me something. He said, just the slightest open on this face here, this golf club, just the slightest millimeter makes a huge difference out there. If this thing's closed or open just a tad here on the tee from where it starts with you in your hands, way out there, it's going to be uncontrollable. And when he told me that, I thought, now that is a great tip not only for golf, but for leadership. And the things that I want to talk to you about today is overlooked is because it's small. But it's a small adjustment in us that can create a better culture in our leadership journey, especially within our marriages, within our business, within the people that work around us. And what I want to talk to you today about is about the small thing that makes a big difference. I want to talk to you about the one controllable factor in your business, the one controllable thing that can control your environment in your business, even in your marriage, your happiness, your joy in life. The one controllable factor that you can literally control the business culture that you work in with, and that is attitude. And the funny thing about attitude is it can only be controlled by you, not circumstance, but by you. And when you control your attitude, you also set the tone and the environment and the temperature for those around you. How many of you know that attitude absolutely affects those around you? Yeah, everyone here in this room knows that. Everyone watching online and different means of technology knows that your attitude absolutely affects those around you. I talk to leaders all the time, and they'll say, Brent, I wish I had a better place to work. My environment, I don't like working for my boss or the culture or the people around him. I wish that I could create as a business owner a better place, a better environment to work. And I sit back and think, you can. You can, but the change is not where you think. The change is not necessarily in them, it's in you. How many of you know that a bad boss that you work for that has an attitude that's just not enjoyable to work for, it changes the environment, doesn't it? It makes it hard for you to work in that environment. I teach this at marriage seminars all the time, but it rolls over into leadership, this issue of attitude. But attitude is contagious, isn't it? Don't believe me? You ever had a good day waking up and you had your coffee, maybe you had your prayer time, maybe you read a good book, and everything is just going all right. It's perfect. But then your significant other wakes up, and they wake up on the wrong side of the bed. And they're trying to get the cereal, and they're slamming the cabinets, and they can't find the coffee mug they want to use. And they're just in a bad mood, and they have a bad attitude. And for long, their bad attitude absolutely ruins your good day, ruins it. Everything was fine. Everything was perfect until she or he came in there with that bad attitude, and it's contagious. Well, in your business culture, it's also contagious. It also, your attitude as a leader rolls into those who work around you. My dad was so big on this in the late 80s, early 90s, The Winning Attitude Era, that book by John Maxwell, still a fantastic book, fantastic read for attitude. He wouldn't let us as children watch people or shows that had bad attitude. There were certain shows that he would not allow us to watch, and my friends got to watch them. And I thought it was unfair as a child. Like one of them was The Simpsons. They had this little yellow cartoon character that he was cool, but he had a bad attitude. And my dad would ask me, he'd say, Brent, you're not watching it. I said, well, Dad, all my other friends watch it, and I want to be like my friends, and I want to be on other conversations. They watch it. And he said, Brent, do you want to be a loser? I said, no, but I want to watch that show. He said, well, your friends watch it? I said, my friends watch it. You say my friends are losers? I mean, and he said, Brent, you don't want to listen to that. He's got a bad attitude. Do you want to be a loser? And I had to think about that one. I thought, my friends watch it. I don't think they're losers, and I want to watch it and be a part of it. And he said, Brent, do you want to be a loser? Well, no, Dad, I don't want to be a loser. He said, well, you're not going to watch people with bad attitudes because that's going to be what you're going to become like. You're going to end up being that. And so my fear of being a loser, so I didn't watch some of that stuff. But Dad, his principle, he was saying, Brent, you're going to become like those around you, and your attitude is going to become like those around you, and your attitude is contagious. So be very careful with the people that you choose to be around because their attitude runs off on you, and before you know it, you'll have their attitude. Did you know this, by the way, that nothing contributes more to your organization's culture than the leader's habitual attitude? Your attitude on a consistent basis is the biggest contributor to the culture that you create for your business long term. And so really the tough question is this. The tough question as leaders is to ask yourself, what attitude do I have on a consistent basis? What attitude am I projecting on a consistent basis? Because here's one thing I know. As the leader, you rarely replicate what you want, but you always duplicate. You always duplicate who you are. You rarely replicate what you want in others, but man, you always duplicate who you are. And your attitude produces that same type attitude in the people that work around you. Think about it. If you've got a greed attitude, it's all about you, it's all about sales, all about profit, guess what kind of team you're going to have? You're going to have a team that's entitled and it's greedy and ungrateful. Think about if you have a selfish attitude, it's all about me, it's all about my needs being met, guess what kind of team you're going to produce? You're going to produce non-team players, selfish team players, all about me attitude type players because of your attitude. See, whatever you project is what you get. Negative attitude gets negative employees. Positive attitudes, can do, find a way attitude in a leader can produce that same mentality in your employees. And here's why we often overlook it because it's small. And here's what I found. We overlook the issue of attitude in me because of this. It's so much easier to find and see what they need to do, isn't it? I mean, as leaders, let's be honest, we walk on campus and that's what we do. We say, they need to fix this, they need to do that, they need to do this different. And we should. It's our job. That's why we have the label of leader behind us. It's what we should do every day, waking up to make things better. But I think that sometimes we need to say, what do I need to do? What is my attitude? See, that's a harder question. What am I projecting? What kind of environment am I creating? So today, for just a few minutes, the message title is called The Attitude in Me. The attitude in me creates a better we. The attitude in me creates a better we. Let's say it together. The attitude in me creates a better we. One more time. The attitude in me creates a better we. I wish you guys could hear the audio in the room. You sound fantastic. But the attitude in me could create a better we. First thing to changing your attitude is this. Look, I want to teach you today 4 controllable factors. 4 controllable factors that no matter what kind of day you have, no matter how bad things are going, if you find yourself in this place where you say, I've just got a rotten, stinking attitude, and I'm projecting this to the people around me, the people that I love, the people that work for me, I'm projecting a bad attitude. How do I change it? I want to give you 4 absolutes today that anytime, within a matter of minutes, you can change your attitude and help the culture of your business. Number 1, if you're going to change your attitude, is this. My attitude is shaped by my focus. My attitude is shaped by my focus. Do you know this? We say this all the time, but whatever you focus on, you feel. Whatever you focus on, you feel. If I focus on how sad I am, I get sad, don't I? Get the emotion of sad. My attitude becomes sad. If I focus on negativity, guess what? My attitude becomes negative. If I focus on anger or something that makes me mad, within minutes, I can get angry. If I focus on gratitude, I can get grateful. Your attitude follows your focus. Try this. Focus on what stresses you out and you'll become stressed out. Focus on what makes you joyful and you'll become joyful. Your feelings always follow your focus. And your attitude always follows your focus. And not only does your focus determine your attitude, but guess what? Your focus determines what gets done, doesn't it? Every one of you today have gotten things done. And you know why you got things done? You got things done because you said, today I've got to focus on this task. Or today I've got to get this done. Or today I've got to get this quota met. Whatever you focus on is what gets done. And it's the same way with your attitude. Whatever you focus on internally becomes our attitude and our approach towards life that day. So our focus determines our attitude. Your focus also determines your actions. So let me ask a logical question. What state do you find your focus mainly in? Is it what you worry about, what you fear about, what you're stressed about, what you don't have? Do you focus on that, or do you focus on the opportunity ahead of you? The first thing to changing your attitude is learning to changing your focus. You don't want to think about and dwell about what contacts didn't come through, what sales didn't come through, what things didn't work out. If you do that, then you're just kind of sucking the possibilities out of what could be in your business. So you want to always ask the question, what am I focused on? What am I focusing on? Am I focused on what could be or what I didn't receive or what didn't work out? Because the quickest way to change your attitude is by changing your focus. Your attitude is not determined by circumstance. It's not. Your attitude is a decision. Your attitude is determined by what you focus on every day of your life. See, I know a lot of people that go through and they think attitude is based off of circumstance. No, attitude is not based off of circumstance. Think about that. If I wake up and have a bad day, or if I had this or that, my attitude is going to be stinking. But your attitude is not on your circumstance. Your attitude is what you're focusing on. You get to decide your attitude. You get to decide your level of joy. You get to decide your level of generosity. You get to decide your level of productivity, your level of gratitude. Your attitude is absolutely determined by your focus. And I believe that this, I really do. The attitude of the leader is the thermostat of your business. Think about it. Remember these old thermostats that we used to have? You know, the good old days, the good ones, the one where it was very simple. All you had to do is take the little stick and move it to the degree you need. I recently bought a new air condition for my home. And this thing, you'd have to have a degree from NASA to run this thing. I mean, it'll do everything, but I'm worried the house is going to take off. It's unbelievable. I wish it was as easy as this, where you just take the little stick and turn it to 70 degrees, and you're good. Did you know that your attitude is the thermostat to the culture that you work on? The attitude of the leader is absolutely the thermostat of your business. It makes your company incredible to work for, or it makes your company intolerable to work for. But you get to choose it. It's determined by the leader's attitude. And all of us, by the way, have attitude homes, is what I call it. Attitude home. It's the attitude that you really make yourself at home in. It's the attitude that you revert back to the most. It's the attitude that when you're stressed or when you're just on vacation or whatnot, it's the attitude that you find yourself in the most, and that's your attitude home. I'd love for us for just a moment, because this today is all about self-reflecting. It's about us examining ourselves to see where we can get better. I'm going to get the team up here to put 15 seconds on the screen in just a moment. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to list the top 3 positive attitude traits, your attitude home. If you were to say, these are the homes that I stay in the most on a positive end, here's what they would be. They'd be generosity, or they'd be joy, or they'd be gratitude, whatever. And then I want you to list the negative attributes and say, these are my negative attitudes. The home that I always revert back to is stress, or the home that I always revert back to is negativity, or being a victim, or being entitled, or whatnot. And let's get real honest for a moment, because you can't fix your attitude until you open up and say, this is where I'm at, and these are the things that I need to change as a leader. So throw 15 seconds on the board, and let's find out positive and negative. Go ahead, you can go ahead and start here in the room, and those online and watching by way of audio. 15 seconds, we are going to just look at and examine the positive traits and the negative. Your positive attitude and the negative attitude. Couple more seconds. What's the one that you stay in the most? Positive, here's what it is, and negative, here's the ones I stay in the most. All right, as we wrap it up, hopefully you listed a couple of those as the first step to fixing it. But your emotional home is the one that you're always most comfortable in. It's the one that you always revert back to. Now, I want to ask you a question. When you look down at that negative side, what you just wrote down, get this. Would you like to work alongside of a boss or a person that has that negative attitude trait? No. Now, think about if you're in that state 70, 80, 90% of the time that you're working around others. Think about you as a leader. If you are in that state, think about how enjoyable that is for the people that work around you. That's why it's so important to make this tweak in us, to make this tweak in me before we can have a better week. Now look at the positive aspect. If you look at the positive attitudes that you stay in, how much more enjoyable would those people that work around you be if you were in that emotional attitude home, that state, that emotional time? If you were in that one 60, 70, 80% of the time, man, you'd be much more enjoyable to work around. Your environment, your business culture would be better. That's the challenge for us leaders, is to ask, what attitude am I projecting, and how can I change it? And focus is the first way to doing that. Focus. Now, the second way to change your attitude is this. Know this, your attitude is shaped by your words. Your attitude is shaped by your words. Words absolutely shape your attitude. Learn to watch your words, because what I found true is your attitude often follows your words. You know, words have a way of creating emotion, don't they? You ever notice that you can be having a great day and someone will say something that offends you and it sets off your entire day? This happened to me just a couple days ago. Someone said something that I didn't want to hear. They told me this deal wasn't going to work out in time that I wanted it to work out in, and it's going to have to wait another week. And I noticed for the next 4 or 5 hours, I was bothered by why this person said they couldn't get this and why they couldn't meet the deadline. And it ruined about 4 or 5 hours of my life. It's the same thing with us. Your words shape your personal attitude. You can say one thing and it can set off your attitude in a different direction. Here's why. Wherever your words flow, emotions are sure to go. Wherever your words flow, emotions are sure to go. If I'm speaking about what I don't have, I'm creating an ungrateful attitude. If I'm always talking about the way things aren't going to work out, I'm creating a complaining attitude, and my staff will pick up on that. Or if I'm talking about what can work out, what the possibilities are, guess what? My attitude follows that. Scriptures tell us this in Proverbs 18:21. This is the richest guy ever, one of the most successful business guys ever in Scripture. His name was King Solomon, and he was wise. And here's what he says. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. He's saying, what I've learned is this. You can either kill a dream or grow a dream. You can kill one or build one by your words. Your words determine, a lot of the times, the success behind a venture. Your attitude is determined by your words. We oftentimes overlook this. I recently read about an article of a guy that he studies human psychology. And he's a brilliant guy. He's a billionaire, by matter of fact. He's very wealthy, and he runs all kind of different companies. And he was talking about this, and I said, wow, that works perfect with what I'm talking about with their words affect your attitude. And he was talking about he went into a boardroom at one of his businesses, and they lost a ton of money. I mean, a ton of money. Some error happened, big amount of money. So he met with his 2 top executives, and one of his executives was going berserk, going crazy, throwing stuff, slamming stuff down, yelling. And then one of them, who had just as much stake in the company as the guy yelling, acting a fool, wasn't saying much at all. And so this guy who studies human psychology said, I'm curious, why is it that you're so mad, irate? Why is it that you feel you've got to reach this level of intensity? He said, I feel like when I get angry, when I yell, when I scream, when I kick, when I shout, things get done. That's the way you make things happen. And that was his emotional home, his attitude home. He felt this is the way that I get people to fix stuff. Now, the other guy, he said, I'm curious on you. You haven't said a word. You almost act as if you're not bothered that you lost millions of dollars today. And the guy looked and he said, I'm really just annoyed. He said, I'm annoyed that this happened. I've looked into the problem, how it happened, and I tried to fix it a few other times, and I'm annoyed that they've done the same thing again. I'm really annoyed. And the guy said, annoyed? That's a strange word to use. Annoyed? You should be irate, mad, this, that. And he said for the next few weeks, he said, I'm going to do something personal on my words to see if it changes my emotions. He said, anytime I get mad and upset, I'm going to use that funny word that this guy used, annoyed. He said, I rarely say that word. And so I'd find something and it'd make me mad, and I go, I'm not angry. That is annoying. That's so annoying. It's annoying that happens. And then a couple of weeks later, I get something would get me frustrated. And I go, that is annoying. Wow, that's annoying. He said, and then by the third week, he said, I started laughing. He said, every time I say the word, I said, that's a funny word, annoyed. Start laughing. He said, I found that my emotions followed my words. Something that I could have been mad and irate at, now I'm saying the word annoyed and I'm getting chuckled. And he said, it absolutely is a truth, a certainty. That's your emotions. That's your attitude. Follows your words. It's called transformational vocabulary. Transformational vocabulary. It means that you can transform your attitude, your mood, your emotions at any given time by changing your focus and by changing your words. This same guy said that he had ran into someone, he was counseling someone who was depressed. And he said, listen, I'm so depressed. I'm in a dark place. I'm in a really, really dark place. I'm flat out more depressed than I've ever been in my life. I'm as low as you can get. And he said, let's try something. For the next week, instead of using the word depressed, I want you to use the words, I'm just a little low. Instead of saying, I'm depressed, I'm in a dark spot, anytime you go to say the word depressed, just exchange it, transform it, and use, I'm just a little low. And so the guy started doing it. And about 3 weeks later, the psychologist called and said, look, I want to check up on you. How you doing? I know you're depressed. And he said the guy had a little pep in his voice. He said, I'm doing great. It's fantastic. He said, whoa. You're not supposed to be doing great. Remember, you're depressed. He said, well, I was. And then I started using the words, I'm just a little low, and I started feeling better. Now I feel so much better. You know what he did there? He started changing, transforming his vocabulary, and it changed his emotions. It's the same thing with us. Be very careful of the words that you use daily, because your words can pull you into an attitude that has a very harmful effect on you and those around you. I have another friend of mine who he will never say, I can't figure it out. He will not do it. What he says is, he says, I'm curious. So every time he can't figure something out, I'll know that he's in this spot because he said, I'm curious. Now think about this. What emotional state is a better attitude to solve a problem as a leader? I can't figure it out, or I'm curious how to fix this problem. I'm curious how to make these profits work. I'm curious if this is the right employee or not. It's a better thing. Transformational vocabulary. Just as with muscles physically, you have to condition your words to help your attitude steer in the right directions, because there's always words that we use on a habitual basis all the time that make our attitude either turn positive or negative, because our attitude is directed by our words. Now, here's what I recommend. I recommend this. Start saying things as they are, but not worse than they are. You know, as leaders, we do this. We emphasize how big things are, how bad they are. I do this. I'm so guilty of this. I exaggerate. I'll blow this small problem into this massive deal just so that my team can feel hot about it, feel warm about it. If I feel they're not on fire and they don't see the same problem I see, I'll make it just monumental just so that I can get them warm to solve the problem. And that's kind of what we do. But start doing this. Start saying things as they are, but not worse than they are. Start saying things as they are, not worse than they are. You have a bad day, start saying, this is what it is. But instead, we blow it up and it makes our attitude worse. So start saying things as they are, not worse than they are. But this is easy to do. It's easy to do because there's double the amount in the English vocabulary of negative words than positive. So it's easy. We kind of gravitate to this. A while back, about 2 or 3 years ago, we bought this piece of land. And we bought this land, and we'd go over there and check on it all the time, and we'd have picnics on it. And well, my kids got tired of going over there every Sunday, and so we had to change the name of the land. They got tired of it being the new land. They didn't like the new land. And so what I did is me and my wife came together. I said, look, we got to come up with another name to change their emotions. Let's call it the favorite land. I mean, how can you get upset about going to the favorite land? It's your favorite, right? And so we started calling it the favorite land, the favorite land. After about 6 months, my kids used to hate going over there, and it's no wonder they hate it. We loved it. You know, when you purchase something, you go to it all the time, and they were getting tired of it. Well, about 6 months later, we're calling it the favorite land, and Brandon they loved it. We get in the car, where are we going? Oh, we're going to the favorite land. I mean, it's hard to be depressed or down about going to a place called your favorite. So use that as transformational vocabulary. So your focus adjusts your attitudes and your words adjust your attitudes. Number 3, your attitude is shaped by the people closest to you. Your attitude is shaped by the people closest to you. I've said this a ton of times, and you know the stats. They say that your life will absolutely become like the top 5 people that you spend the most time with. The easiest way to know your future is to check your friends. Stats show us that your income and expenditures are within $60,000 of the top 5 people in your life. That's how close. Some of you need some new friends, don't you? Some of you hear that stat and think, oh boy, it's time for me to make some changes. Here's why. Your level of thinking, your business, all of that all of that is shaped by the people that you spend the most time with. Your attitude is no different. Your attitude will become like those that you spend the most time with. My father always used to tell us, he used to say, his little saying was, Brent, the voices that you listen to determine the choices that you make. Be very careful of your friends. The voices you listen to absolutely determine the choices that you make. And can I say he's so right? He is so right. If I got around people with negative attitudes, I'd start finding myself getting negative. I learned this even works with children. My child, about a year ago, got into watching, it's an old show, Alvin and the Chipmunks. Used to watch it, and Alvin always had a bad attitude. He was a schemer. And I noticed that my daughter, who's just precious, she's just pure heart, wonderful, after about a month, started having this attitude. And I thought, where did this come from? Is there someone she's hanging out in school with? Who is this? Where is Emmy, and what have you done with it? And then I get to thinking one day she's at the breakfast table and she said something kind of smart aleck to me. And I thought, where in the world did that come from? And it sounded like Alvin and the Chipmunks. You remember him? And I thought, oh my goodness, that's it. She sounded just like that cartoon that she's been watching. We cut Alvin off. Her attitude's gotten a lot better. But it's true. The people that you are around, it absolutely shapes your attitude. So I got to ask a question. Who are you hanging with? Who's the top 5 people that you spend time with? Your attitude, your mindset, your thinking all becomes like those. I'd always ask you to, I always do this. I always ask, what are the values that the people that I hang out with, are they the same as my values? Because you want to do this. Many people are tempted. Most people are tempted to find friends based off of their interests rather than choosing friends based off of their values. Most people say, well, they play tennis, so I'm going to play too. Or they go golf, I'm going to do this. Or they do this. And that's a good starting point. But you want to say, instead of finding friends that match up with my interest, I want to be more concerned about finding friends that their values match mine. Because the people that you're around, it really does shape your attitude. Scriptures tell us that bad company corrupts good morals. Scriptures also tell us this, that can two walk together unless they are agreed. What Scripture is saying is you will become like those around you. So your attitude is shaped by your focus. Your attitude is shaped by your words. Your attitude is shaped by the people around you. And finally, your attitude is shaped by your gratitude. Your attitude is shaped by your gratitude. Do you know this? Gratitude is the most powerful emotion, the most powerful human emotion that you possess. Think about it. You can't be angry and grateful at the same time. You can't be stressed and grateful at the same time. You can't be worried and grateful at the same time. You can't be sad and grateful at the same time. The two cannot coexist. Gratitude is the most powerful emotion that there is. And so you want to learn to wake up every day of your life and be grateful for everything that you have. Here's something that I personally practice every day. Every day of my life I think about, and I take a little bit of time, and I get alone, and I get quiet, and I pray to God, and I sit there and I meditate for just a few moments, not getting weird, but I think about 3 things that I'm very grateful for. And I'll spend maybe 2 or 3 minutes thinking about something I'm highly grateful for. Maybe it's a business opportunity, the place I work. Maybe it's my spouse. Maybe it's a memory I had with my child. And for about 2 or 3 minutes apiece, I'll just kind of submerge myself in gratitude. And I'll think about that, my wife walking down this very aisle here and us getting married. And I'll think about my child, a memory that we had, and them smiling. Or I'll think about how grateful I am to work in the place that I work in. And after a while, it will set my tone for my day. My whole day is shaped by those 9 minutes, 3 minutes apiece on something I'm grateful for. I also do this, though, as a leader. I take a few moments and I think about 3 things that I want to accomplish that day and a couple things I want to accomplish big picture. And I put myself there as if it were already done. The property that we're on here at the church, for a long time I was the financial administrator. And boy, I dreamed of having this place debt-free. That was my goal. We had to pay off almost $5 million in debt. It looked impossible. But you know, for 10 years, I would think every morning what it would feel like. I would think about the freedom, the business opportunities that we could do, the people we could reach if this place was paid off, the less money we'd have to spend on mortar, and more money we could spend on missions. And I'd think about it, and I would put myself there as if it was already done every day. And you know what would happen? When I left and I went to the office, I would make decisions based on what I just saw an hour ago. So we'd come across a good opportunity to spend money here, to do this project, and I'd say, hey, let's hold off. Let's keep it towards debt reduction. Or we'd come up with another guy, we really need to hire this guy, and we've got the money to hire it, and this could really help. And I'd look at it and weigh it and think, yeah, but what I stepped in this morning with this place paid off, That's the goal. I don't want to get off track. And in order to do it, I've got to stay on this track. And I started making decisions based off of what I thought about the morning before, based off of visualizing that and being grateful for that moment before it even happened. You know the story. A couple years ago, we ended up paying it off. And we stood here in the very dream that I dreamt tons of times, thousands of times. And I never forget my dad asked me a question. He said, Brent, how does it feel? It took you a decade to pay this off. How does it feel to be debt-free? And I never forget that I looked at my dad's eyes and I said, Dad, it feels familiar. And he said, what? I said, it feels very familiar. You see, today when we walked out on the stage and we told everyone that they were debt-free and we celebrated at all 4 services, I'd been there 1,000 times. 1,000 times I'd walked there and I thought about what it'd feel like, what it'd be like. And it was just as good as I dreamt. And I was so grateful for that moment. But can I tell you as a leader, your attitude is shaped by your focus, by your words, by the people, but it's absolutely, positively, it is shaped by your level of gratitude. Get along with God every morning and be grateful for the things that you have and be grateful for the opportunities that you have. Think about where you want to go, what you want to be. And I absolutely believe that your attitude, the attitude in me, shapes a better we. I thank you so much for allowing me to share with you today. I love being on this leadership journey with you. I look forward to being with you in a few months, and I look forward to growing with you. Now let's close out this month's BP Leadership Lesson with a word of prayer. Father, thank you so much for your word. I thank you so much for your instruction today. I thank you so much for the information that the content that we shared together. I pray that it will be a blessing in every leader's life that gets this audio lesson or video lesson. I pray that it would make them contemplate and think about their attitude today and how they can direct it to shape the people and the company and the people around them to be better. Thank you so much for allowing us to learn together. In your name we pray. Amen.